Greg, when it comes to developing people at scale, what's your biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge is, especially when you're in a big organization, is to get everybody on board with the need for development. People get promoted because they're good at something. And we don't always realize that that doesn't mean they're going to be good at the next thing. An
Right.
individual contributor is not necessarily good at getting other people to contribute. And so I think that's been the biggest challenge, is that you have to put resources into that when at the same time you're looking for results. So you want those people to immediately start producing results, but you have to step back and allow them to recognize that I've got a mindset shift that I have to take on and change my perspective, recognize who I am, where my weaknesses are at, what I need to do to adapt to being a leader now. That to me has been the biggest challenge, is to just get everyone on board with that and recognize that and just kind of slow down for a minute and allow them to do that. So they'll last. They'll feel confident. They won't feel like, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm lost.
Okay, so you said getting everyone on board.
Hmm.
So it sounds like part of who that is that you need to get on board is the actual new leaders specifically, is what you're talking about. Like getting them on board with that it will take them time to develop. Is that what you're saying?
I think maybe there's a realization with them. I think that a lot of times it's their leadership that is pushed for results. So
Mm.
they're numbers driven. They're, what are we doing today? What are we doing this week? Are we going to hit our period, our quarter? And I need you to lead. And so a lot of times there's this pushback to, we don't have time to do that. We've got fires to put out, we've got stuff happening, and we need to take care of that. We'll worry about development later, and later a lot of times never comes for those individuals.
It is both the time of learning as well as the time it takes to see results from that learning that makes it hard to get new managers dedicating their time to growing.
Well, we have to make them dedicate that time. We have to put it on their calendar, not volunteer for it, because they'll
Right.
feel like I can't pull
Right.
away for a few hours or for a half day or whatever. They will not make that decision. You have to make
Yeah.
that for them, but at the same time, their leadership has to say, okay, we're going to cover for them. We're going to give them that time. And that a lot of times is where the real struggle is just pulling all those people together to say, we are really going to focus on this and we're going to put a lot of importance on it. If we
So
don't,
getting buy-in from the actual learners, often new
mhm,
managers, getting the buy-in from their leaders that they'll have time. Those are two
yeah,
people you have to get on board.
with very
Who
different
else?
perspectives. Well, and then
Mm.
at the very top, you have to have them help you drive what you're trying to accomplish. Because from a learning and development perspective, they don't report to me. I don't have responsibility for them. I'm just trying to feed into them. I need somebody who is a partner at the top who will say, who I can meet with. They'll agree that, yes, this is important. We're going to make the hard decisions. And then ask them if they'll be part of that voice of saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. And I need you to buy into this. And so it takes a lot of different people to be involved in that.
So the learner, their leader, and the executive leadership at the very top of the company. Those all have
Absolutely.
to get bought in. And you were starting to say they all have different perspectives.
They do have very different perspectives. The new leader is, I think, immediately they're looking at the numbers they're supposed to hit and how am I going to make that
Hmm.
happen. So right
Hmm.
away, you are told, here are the metrics. So that's where you immediately start going. Okay, how am I going to make that happen? The leader above them is kind of has that same mindset of, I lost a leader or somebody got promoted. I need somebody to just be able to step in where I won't have to do a bunch of extra work to try to make what should be happening happen.
Right.
So again, it's very results oriented. And then I think when you're up
Yep.
at the executive level, it's hard sometimes to just identify with what's happening on the front line, because every time
Yeah.
you're a little, you're moving further and further up, you're further and further away from everything that really
Yeah.
is happening day to day.
I feel those pressures of the people in the business units, the metrics, they've got to hit it, right?
Hmm.
They're feeling that time pressure. It's hard to get that buy-in from time. Do you also find the buy-in is necessary for anything else, other resources, other like budget or, team members or partners or vendors or, like, is it hard to get buy-in for things beyond time?
Well, the last few years, there's been a change in the way that we look at that investment. It all has to be virtual. A lot of that
Mm-hmm.
used to be live. So you have to
Hmm.
figure out what can I do virtually that's going to translate and be as effective and get people's attention and keep them engaged. And so there's a very different, you have to do the same kinds of things with different resources. So I think that's a big difference. You're also pulling in HR and you're trying to create a team where human resources and operations and leadership is all focused in on the same thing, working together, trying to make the same thing happen and be a team. How can we
Hmm.
provide support for this person and this program? And so there's a lot of coordination.
Coordination is a great way to say it. Because there's so many different priorities from the business priorities, the output, the metrics that
Mm.
the managers and their leaders are held to. Plus, there's no shortage of opportunities that different departments have to in HR or in learning or in which leaders do we invest in, the highest risers, or like
Mhm.
the next executives, is it succession planning, or is it like the rising new frontline managers because they're the linchpin of culture, right? There's so
Right.
many priorities, coordination. Gosh, yeah, that's strategic coordination. There is a lot.
Yeah, I think in a lot of corporations, you have people who have been around a long time, and you have a
Hmm.
lot of new people, and you don't have a lot of
Hmm.
people in the middle
Right.
because a lot of things have changed the last few years where people haven't stuck around as much. And so you got that gap in the middle.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so that institutional knowledge, as well
Mm.
as, fresh new ways of thinking, as well as like medium term ways of thinking, right? Yeah, that's
Right.
interesting. I haven't thought
Yeah.
about that. All right, Greg, let's talk about the real fun part. What's your biggest
Okay.
win when it comes to developing people at scale?
I'm going to say the biggest win has happened in our fiscal year. So less than a year ago, well, last spring at this time, I got the opportunity to start to lead a project of onboarding new supervisors and
Mm,
putting that program together, determining what are the needs, what do they need to learn. So pulling a team of people together and saying, okay, what's it mean to be a leader and what's that look like? And then now that I've got that self awareness, what are the things I actually have to act on and do on a day to day basis to drive that team to be a winning team? So,
mhm.
I work for a company that's 54 years old, and less than a year ago, we created an onboarding program for new supervisors. So, prior to that, here's the keys, get out there and drive the car, make it happen. No real guide. And so that's a big change. And I got the opportunity to head that up, roll it out, determine a lot of the parts and pieces of what mattered. And so for me,
Mhm.
that's a real big win because we get that opportunity with that new person for the first 90 days to say, okay, here's your schedule of what you should make sure happens, what you need to know. We get to feed into them, have a lot of conversation with them, put a mentor with them. And so there's kind of a pause of, hey, for the first 90 days, we're going to work on really developing this person and give them some time to produce results rather than, okay, Monday, the job's yours, get at it.
I love this. That's what a stat. After 54 years of being in business, just last year, something truly dedicated to first time leaders.
Hmm.
And you're spending 90 days where they have dedicated resources to help them make that leap from individual contributor to people leader. Think about your fellow talent development, learning and development people. Let's get a little bit tactical here so that they can take away some pieces from this. What are the specific pieces that you think have helped make this successful?
Number one, you have to give that person an opportunity to stop and spend a little bit of time looking at themselves.
Mm,
So, how do I communicate? What's my mindset? What does emotional intelligence look and act like? How do I want to show up and create my own brand as a leader? How
right.
do I go, like, step by step? What does leadership
Mhm.
look like? Not where I have to kind of figure it out on the fly, but hey, let's give you a framework of first recognize what leadership looks like and what do I need to work on? Where are my strengths and my weaknesses? And then go develop relationships after that. Let's focus
Right.
on connecting with people, making sure that I'm showing people that I care about them. And then once they recognize that, hey, this person likes me, is invested in me, then they'll be more likely to come along and help you produce results. So rather than jumping at results first, stop and take a look at ourselves, create relationships, engagement. Then, as a team, let's go after these results together.
That's beautiful. And it's not that you're saying, results should come in 2 years. It's results will come quickly. Let's spend a little bit of time on, am I adjusting my style to what my people
Mm,
need? Do I understand who they are? Can I reach them on a human level? Because then I have their buy-in, their motivation,
right.
their loyalty to commit to going through the mess of figuring out how to hit these numbers, right?
Yeah, because internally people are asking themselves, do I trust this person? Are they competent? Do they care
Hmm.
about me? So they may not say it out loud, but internally, and they may not even know they're asking themselves that, but when they have a new leader, that's what's in their heart. And you want them to say, hey, I'm giving you permission to lead me because I feel like you care about me, feel
Yeah.
like I can trust you. And I can
Hmm.
see that there's some competence there. I'm going to give you some time to show that you're competent, but they have to see the character played out. Initially, though, we just got to create a relationship with them, talk to them like they're another human. And
Yeah.
that's a whole lot faster, actually, than pushing people to results.
Yes. I wish I could remember it exactly, but I've heard research multiple times throughout the past 15 probably years where we think that we are all logical beings making logical decisions off of 1 + 1 = 2, and after
Hmm.
A and B comes C, right? But actually, we're totally emotion driven and logic doesn't always come into play. Um, and when it does come into play, it's because our emotions align with it as well, right? So if you can help
Yes.
people to feel that emotional safety, care for them, all of that. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Trust.
huge and that's so unnatural. So what a beautiful thing that you're helping leaders, first-time leaders actually have the space to think about that. I'm assuming this is virtual for you. Cisco is huge. So you're doing a virtual time period, like spread over 90 days, a
Hmm.
period for people to stop, look at themselves, and then think about their people. How are you facilitating that virtually?
We do it through Microsoft Teams.
So this is same time, same place, a group of people together virtually.
So, we're getting started here with a new month,
Mhm.
and everybody who is moving into that role across the country is in the next class. So their first week is
Amazing.
dedicated with us virtually. Then their fifth week, we've got a couple more days with them. And then their ninth week, we've got a couple more days with them. And in between, they're doing what they're going to do, and they have a mentor and they're getting that hands on learning experience. And we're
Hmm.
building on that virtual experience with them. And so tonight, actually, when you're in warehouse operations, people are working at different times of the day. Some of them are working late into the night. So
Right.
later this
Third shift.
afternoon, we'll have a group of people coming back for their week 5. And we'll start in the middle of the afternoon and we'll work till evening. And a lot of conversation, a lot of engagement, breakout groups, asking a lot of
Awesome.
questions.
Amazing. All right, Greg.
Fun, a lot of
Last
fun.
question for you. What is some of the feedback that you've gotten? This is a new program. What's some of the
Mhm.
feedback you've gotten so far?
The people who did not get the opportunity want development opportunity because they're seeing that, hey, I'm mentoring this person and they're getting
Hmm.
all this learning and all this stuff that I didn't get. What do I get? And we're seeing retention is really good. So these people who came through this program, the retention is really good, almost 100%. So very good.
Wow. And in your industry, in warehousing, that is a big,
Yeah,
big deal.
because it is a tough. They do very hard work, very hard work. So
Wow.
that's led actually to, a result of that is now we've developed a program to 6 times a year feed into those people who are already enrolled but didn't get the development opportunity at the beginning. So now every other month we have a virtual class with that group of people and teach things that they would want to learn and give them some action steps to take.
Full circle from your biggest challenge is buy-in and people dedicating time to now people are pulling it from you, Greg. They're
Yeah.
asking you for more of it because
Yes.
they're seeing, I'm sure they're seeing the retention. I'm sure they're also just seeing a lot of things that are a little harder to put numbers on, like better relationships,
Hmm.
better work-life balance, more loyalty from employees, just the things that come from a leader that people want to follow.
Being able to handle difficult situations and difficult conversations because you've thought about things and heard about things and talked about things before you've encountered them. You're set up, your brain's done some work on it, although you haven't acted on it yet. So when it
Right.
comes to those situations, you're able to handle it because, oh, okay, I've kind of talked through this. I've thought about these obstacles.
Well, what a gift you are giving to people. Of course, the leaders, but even more so the people that they lead. And then that overflows beyond Sysco. That overflows into families, communities, how you interact
Yeah.
with the cashier at Walgreens, So well done, Greg. And thank you so much for sharing some of your experience, your challenges, as well as big wins. And I hope that other talent developers hear this and are equipped with a little bit more tactics, but also just inspiration to keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you. I'm passionate about it. We care about people, and that's why we do it. I think that's what a lot of people in learning and development is because, they care about feeding into people and helping them develop and grow and do what they do best.
And at the end of the day, people
Yeah,
are what matter.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. And I look forward to sharing this with others.
Thank you.